Do 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 do. Something like that. Check one, check two. I'd rather be on the beach. I would. I'd rather be on the beach. I'd rather be out there in the sun, having fun with someone. Um, so another dive down deep into the heart of what is happening. Do you know, as I do this recording today, what's on my mind is the fact that this is going to be a piece of media number, I don't know how many thousand that I've put out. Um, we're talking about um, 1,000, over 1,000 podcasts. We're talking about over 2,000 videos. We're talking about over 5,000 images and other pieces of digital media. And it's got me thinking about why other people don't want to get involved in digital media, social media, why other people are afraid. And a part of that is that they fear that they're going to be attacked. They fear that something negative or something bad is going to come back at them. They're going to say something, a word, they're going to use the wrong word, might even be the right word, but somebody thinks it's the wrong word or a phrase, or they're going to talk about a topic and someone's going to not like that and someone's going to boomerang that back at them and say, why did you say this? What did you mean by this? Do you know that? And they're going to take it out of context, of course. And context is what matters. Context is the only thing that matters because in certain times, in certain situations, it's going to always sound like the wrong course of action. Like shooting someone sounds like the wrong course of action unless there's a group of people shooting at you, right? Like that story recently about the policeman who shot an unarmed black woman while she was in her bed. Yes, but she wasn't alone and she was with a drug dealer who was shooting first at the police. So context is everything. Context is everything. People, oh, he said this, she said that, right? Context is everything. Now, I want to give you some security. I want to give you some advice. And the security or the advice is to understand the context, to not get pulled into other people's debates and other people's narratives. Always stay within your own context, right? Don't play somebody else's game unless it's all for fun, right? You have to play your own game. You have to play in your style and your way for as long as your style and your way is working. And then when your style or your way doesn't work, you've got to up your game and change your tactic. Um, like that fighter did in the boxing fight with Conor McGregor for the first 2 or 3 rounds. Uh, what's his name? Forget the guy's name. Anyway, it's like 50 win fighter, right? Um, and he realized that the tactic and the style that he was using was not going to penetrate, was not going to win, so he changed his style. He changed when he needed to change, and he won. But context, right? Context. People are going to come at you with a word, with a phrase, with a sentence, with a clip of you saying something. And they're going to say, and you said this, and this is wrong, and what do you have to say to people about people's criticisms of it? And you have to put everything back into context. You have to say To the people or the person, you have to say, and what was the context of that statement? Where was that statement said? When was that statement said? What did I say before that? What did I say after that? Because it's not smart to pull something happening in one place out of context and try to give it meaning, or even try to give it different meanings, trying to alter it or change it. So when people, um, would you like some more? Yeah? Okay. You still hungry, darling? Okay, you have a little bit more. And Mom's just popped to the shop, so she's going to come back with some food. Yeah? As well. Sorry? You'll need some help. Well, can you ask Will to help you? Because I'm doing something. That's cool. Ask Will. Tell Will that... Okay. Let me know if you need help. Right. Um, so what was I talking about? Context. Yeah. Um, oh my gosh, he's got his child out on a boat on the river and she doesn't have a life jacket on. Right. Well, maybe he's a good swimmer. Maybe she's a good swimmer. Maybe the water's like 20 centimeters deep. Right. Um, context. Context. Put everything back into the context of the original statement, of the original meaning. People will try to twist the narrative to suit their story. And always ask them for context. Where did you get this from? Ask people, why is it important to them? Okay, so you've pulled out this statement, you've pulled out this sentence. Why is that statement, why is that sentence important to you? Why does that matter to you? Why did you pull that one out? Why not the 10,000 other statements, the 10,000 other sentences? Why that one? Why does that one matter above all else? Because you could probably find worse examples, right? And how much time and effort did you put into searching for it? How much time and effort did you put into understanding the context? How much time and effort did you put into listening to what came before, what came after, and what it all means when you put the pieces of the puzzle together? Because maybe you're taking a puzzle piece from one puzzle and trying to fit it into another puzzle. Yeah. So if you put out a piece of digital media and if somebody criticizes you for it, then you have to put it back into the original context to understand it. And you have to go to the source as well. Now, the fact that someone's coming to you is good that somebody's coming to the source and not learning this from somewhere else. And it's a question to ask, you know, excuse me, Jess? He needs proper permission, darling. Who needs proper permission for what, darling? Excuse me? Yes, 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 and yes. There we go. That solved that. The answer is always yes. Even when it's no, it's yes, right? Don't take that the wrong way either. But people are going to pull things out of context. And you've got to frame it. You've got to frame the game in a way in which you can protect your name and your reputation and your ideas. And people will always want to reframe things in different ways. They'll want to pull things out of context. He said this and she said that. And the trouble is when you put out a lot of media as well, you're going to find contradictions. Maybe on Monday this is the right way, but maybe on Tuesday a different way is the right way. And understanding that is, I think, one of the best forms of defense when you put out a large amount of digital media to people. Understanding that somebody could come back and say to you, oh, You know, I mean, anybody can go back through 10 years of media that I've created. I've created something almost every day for 10 years. Um, and anybody could pick up anything and say, well, and because let me give you an example. I'll give you an example, right? Of of things. People are happy to talk about the past. They're much less happy to talk about the present and the future because, right? So I've made predictions, um, and some of them have been right and some of them have been wrong. But I'm not. It doesn't worry me. I mean, the fact that you get something right is kind of great usually, except that sometimes if it's about something negative, you don't want to be right. You know, it's like that volcano looks like it's going to explode. Oh, you know, it's maybe not a good thing. But but with the negative elements, you know, when you get it wrong, it's like, well, I based this on these pieces of information that I had at that time, and according to A, B, C, and D, this pretty much looked like the way it was going to go. However, dot dot dot, right? However, there were things that I didn't factor in that I didn't know, and I learned later. And you know, once you, yeah, after the fact, it's obvious, right? You have your tactics for your team to play the game, and if you lose the game, and then you look back, and you're like, okay, this is why I lost the game, then you're like, well, now I've got more information, and I know better, right? You don't win every game, like the sports or professional sports are a good place to learn things, right? You don't win every game. You don't win every match. You know, the tennis player doesn't win every point. It's a constant process of trial and and error. And so many people fear the digital sphere. They fear the fact that they're gonna put out a message and it's going to be there forever, and maybe they'll regret it years down the line. Well, why would you regret it? I mean, why would you regret who you were? I mean, it does say something, that the fact that people fear to put out the media. It shows that they're uncomfortable with the place that they're at, but you won't get comfortable unless you push yourself. And, you know, it's the classic old diagram of um, your comfort zone and learning. You know, they're at opposite ends of the spectrum to to a certain extent. And so that was on my mind. It's on my mind, this idea, because I'm working a lot with people in digital media, and I see that they're afraid sometimes to say certain things. Um, they're afraid that they might say the wrong thing. Um, what does that even mean, to say the wrong thing? So what if you offend somebody if you've got a good reason for your opinion? So what, right? You know, if you, let's take a crass example. You like a particular song or a particular music group, right? Or you like going on a holiday to a particular place. So what if other people don't like that? Aren't you entitled to your opinion? Aren't you entitled to your ideas? Aren't you entitled to your thoughts? Aren't you entitled to an experience that leads you to a point? And then again, aren't you entitled to revise all of that as well? The same way that the lot of the music that, I don't say a lot, some of the music that I listened to when I was a kid, that I listened back to it. Well, it's not so much with music, but it's more obvious with films, like the films that I liked when I was a kid. Now some of them are evergreen. They're still cool to me. But some of them I watch and I cringe and I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I see in that? Maybe it was I'd never seen something like that before. Maybe I got caught up in the hype of it. But but my opinions can change and they should change, just the way that a person should evolve, just the way that the younger mind is more flexible, more liberal. The older mind is more concerted, maybe more set in its ways. That's how we are as people. You're not gonna be doing exactly the same things at 40 when you're 20. Um, at least I think that you shouldn't be doing all the same things. If you've got something that works and you like doing it and people like it and it works for you, and that's cool. That's cool. But what is it that drives the musician to keep writing new songs, to keep exploring possibilities, even to, the great artists and musicians, they diversify to a certain extent and explore other genres and other cultures. And sometimes they screw up, sometimes they get it wrong, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you try to cross over and it doesn't go according to plan. You're the Michael Jordan who tries to play baseball, yeah, or you're the uh, you're the actor that tries to become a musician, or the musician that tries to become an actor. Yeah, yeah, John Bon Jovi, right? He was a musician who tried to become an actor, but it just didn't work out that well. So, I mean, those are cultural references which I hope make some sense to people. But I'm here to encourage, I'm here to promote evolution of concepts and principles and ideas and philosophies. I'm here to stimulate the mind so that the mind is not so specifically set in its ways. And so always go back to the original context. Where was it said? When was it said? Why was it said? Who said it? Who were they talking to? Who were they talking about? I'm, I'm being distracted by huge splashes out in the ocean right now, and I'm trying to work out, is it just the birds, or is it the waves on the, because it's low tide, is it the waves crashing on the rocks poking up, or maybe it's seals or dolphins or something. I don't know. Anyway, um, focus. One thing at a time, right? One thing at a time. So, um, yeah, I already mentioned like growing up and changing attitudes and changing opinions, and that's that's important. That's important. I love 80s. I love 80s style. I love 80s music. I love 80s films. That's because we carry our childhood with us wherever we go. I also like the retro groups that play the 80s style of music. I like Prism and The Midnight and Le Broc. Check out those bands. Prizm. Strange how I found that. I found that music through VR. There's a VR through VR Fitness. There's a VR Fitness game called Synth Riders, and they use a lot of that style of music, the synth-based rock music for their exercise games. And so I was playing that, and I discovered that music, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And so I hopped onto Spotify, and Spotify has these playlists. So create playlists of songs similar to this song. So I did that and then discovered other bands. It's a really nice function. So thank you to all the people who put all those little bits and pieces of things together that led me in a certain direction. Who would have thought that that those activities would lead to this conversation? It just shows we don't know where the last domino is going to fall. It might fall tomorrow, it might fall 100 years from now. But wherever it does fall, we've still got to remember to live within the moment of where we are. If you're watching the video presentation and you want to know where I am, well, here's a picture. That's it. You can see the road in front of the flat. You can see the play park. You can see the sea. You can see the beach looking east across the north of Scotland. And when the sun shines, there's no nicer place in the world. So that's about 5 days a year. There we go. Well, here's another picture. I've been testing different aspects of photography, and I don't know if you've used Facebook's 3D photo feature yet. Works with some cameras where you take a motion picture. It basically takes two pictures very, very close together. I think it's two, and then it blends them together to give you motion in a Facebook image. You click on the option for 3D picture and you upload it and just see what happens. Maybe you'll like it. Maybe you'll like it. Joe Rogan has been trending recently for lots of different reasons. He might actually be getting back on track after going off the rails. Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, he's done an interview with the professor Brett Weinstein where he shares his stories and his theories about the origins and characteristics of COVID-19. The professor is inclined to believe that C19 did not evolve through natural causes. This is because of the gain of function. Mentioned that before. It, obviously it's been stitched together like Frankenstein. We know the research began in Canadian and American universities. We know it was then switched to Chinese universities because it was considered too dangerous. With the studies still continued. We know it's patented. It's a lot. We know too much, basically. He thinks that the high transmissibility of C19 when you are not outdoors, when you're indoors, is very conspicuous. It has a high translation rate for people indoors. But stay safe, stay home, right? Government's not trying to help you. It's possible that the virus has adapted to a laboratory environment in order to reflect such behavior. Unfortunately, the broken science system which relies on grant money is restricting in-depth research into this incident, not by accident. Many in the scientific and political community have taken an oath not to deviate from any theories about a natural evolution. Yes, it's turned into a belief system now. Science has turned into a belief system and as a result has fallen apart. It's not cool. It's not cool. I don't know if we'll get to it today. Maybe yes, maybe no. But there's a huge scandal in Brazil right now, which should be everywhere. It should be here. It should be everywhere. Everyone should be doing this, where independent journalists actually broke into hospitals that claim to have thousands of COVID patients, a lot of them seriously ill and dying, and they found almost nobody there. I'm tempted to say nobody because in the video clips that I saw of people going through the hospitals, there was nobody there. Nobody. No patients, right? No patients. No patients were there. A few people wearing masks, walking around, but everything else was smoke and mirrors and theater. Yep, smoke and mirrors and theater. That's all that it was. So that's something to do your own research. Go and watch the videos. See what you think. Yeah, see what you think about what happened. But this is crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. If you're following my work with local businesses, Maid Murray will have a new interview coming out with personal trainer and health coach Laura McNally. She's an inspiration. What a wonderful person. Putting herself out there, allowing me to interview her and ask her some tricky questions about health and well-being. Um, um, Coming out soon, so stay posted for that. And there's also a wealth of information about nutrition there and how to organize your life and lifestyle to be healthy. So I can't wait to share that with the world. And I love what she does on social media as well, where she puts out information about herself and her imperfections. And that's a great way to communicate with people, to show how vulnerable you are. It's also difficult for a lot of people to do that, but there's a woman with an awesome mindset and great courage. So yeah, and you have to do that on, if you want to be successful on social media, you kind of have to give your all, and whatever comes back. And as long as you put yourself completely into what you do, you will never really be disappointed, because success requires a whole lot of fearlessness, resilience, and relentlessness in order for um, positive outcomes. I've been chilling a lot with the kids recently. You'll find lots of videos on the YouTube channel. The most recent one is Life with Kids, where they randomly decided to be cuckoo birds in the local park. Um, you know what's great about kids? It's the unpredictability. It's the unpredictable nature of, you're never quite sure what they're going to do next, or what they're thinking, or how they're acting, or how they're going to act, or which question is going to come out of their mouth. Adults tend to be predictable to a certain extent, and I love the unpredictable nature of being around kids. And it's been said many times that if you are feeling down or depressed or unhappy, get yourself around kids. Not so that you can make them depressed, but so that you can allow them to improve your mood, because that's what kids do, basically. Sharing their love of life and their energy. Also doing the rounds on social media, picked up from Mark Collette on twitter.com. Interesting video. Elderly white man is pushed off a bus by a black woman and he dies of the injuries. Yeah, you can watch the video and, well, you know, to see for yourself, right? See for yourself. I wonder what's the difference between a white policeman killing a black man and a black woman killing an old white man. Is okay, so they're both wrong, but here comes the difference. And also, please note, don't forget that more white males were killed by police officers than black males in the United States in the last year. And go and look at the statistics for crime on crime. Who does what to whom? Who does what to whom? That this whole racial bent on everything is an attempt at a second American Civil War. That's what it is. Look back at how the first Civil War was sold to people. Realize that we are still very much in a similar frame and mindset, because we've been set up to be like that. Society's been set up to be like that. Education has been set up to be like that. Media has been set up to be like that. Television and films have been set up to be like that. Not saying bad things don't happen, but what I am saying is there's a lot more good than there is bad. Right? There's a lot more good than there is bad. It's a choice. It's a choice we make. Stop pumping out fear. Stop it. And the interesting thing is that this has been completely ignored by all mainstream media outlets, because the mainstream media doesn't care very much about old white people, right? No stories about him and his family, no stories about his life, no stories about what he wasn't able to achieve because he was murdered. No outrage, no changes to profile pictures, no protests, no funding campaigns, no letters to the UN, no looting and rioting, no shootings, no tearing down statues, no graffiti, no burning buildings, no kneeling before anyone. Right? None of that. It just passes. The story passes like a ship in the night. But go and do your own research. Check it out for yourself. See what you can find. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Nobody deserves to suffer in either of the original comparisons. Nobody. Nobody. Back to the madness. Back to the life. Back to reality. I thank you to Mary Orchardson for her collations of data and information regarding the great V topic. I wonder what that series V related to. I wonder what the subtext was. Anyway, the Oxford vaccine for C19 has failed in animal trials. Failed terribly, as a matter of fact, but that still hasn't stopped the medical mafia establishment from now testing it on children. It failed in animals, so now let's test it on children. The logic for that is non-existent because the people in charge are no longer accountable to a certain extent. Although, let's flip that, the highest court in Britain did admonish, they give him a slap, they give Mr. Johnson a slap on the wrist for his closure of Parliament, saying, well, it just really shouldn't have been done. Don't we have Parliament to debate whether or not these things should be done first? Once debate stops, if you can't have an open discussion, and I've said before about the problems with open discussions, that the whole social media sphere right now, I'm going like 90%, right, is designed to increase confusion and conflict and reduce discussion. When was the last time you saw a reasonable, evidence-based conversation or discussion on social media? Like never. And you think the people who designed it didn't realize that that's how it was going to work out? Well, the only way to judge what's happening with the media is to look at the comments on pieces of media and to see how people's opinions are orientated. And I'm pretty sure that's the way that governments gauge things as well, so that they don't push too far too soon, as they might have already done. But you know, if you go too far, too fast, too soon, you lose, don't you? You lose. So recent articles, I'll give you the headlines, you can check them out for yourself. Doubts over Oxford vaccine as it fails to stop coronavirus in animal trials. Several articles. Oxford COVID-19 vaccine to begin phase 2 and phase 3 human trials. Coronavirus children and older adults to take part in vaccine trial. What are you doing? Here, this could kill you, right? We'll test it on the kids and the old folks. These people do not have everyone's. It's a trial, and it's like 10,000 people involved. The next study will enroll up to 10,260. What a random number. Adults and children, and will involve partner institutions across the country. They're going to have everybody vaccinated by the time the vaccine comes out. Madness. Much madness. Anyway, if you can, and you have an opportunity, get away from it all. Get out. Get out into the water. Get out into the sun. Get out into the forest. Find a place, a space, a room with a view. Collect your thoughts. Oh look, there's a bird in that picture. Took a picture while I was out on my paddleboard the other day and didn't see the bird in the middle of it. Yeah, interesting. I was also on my paddleboard this morning for half an hour and came off the board and there was a guy like sitting talking to a bird. He was sitting on one rock and the bird was sitting on the other rock and they were just like sort of like chatting away. Obviously the bird wasn't speaking English. The bird was sort of preening its feathers and the guy had his camera out and he was taking little pictures and maybe a little video and I was just like, wow. Um, and I wondered, what had caused the bird to just sit on the rock next to the guy. And the guy moved away and went to do his own thing and I went down to the rock and I sat down next to the bird as well. And it was nice. It was just one of those nice little moments where it's just like you and some unusual experience and like, wow. And who knows what's going to happen when you get out and you meet people and you chat and you converse and you communicate. Why do you think government wants 2 meters between people? So you don't communicate. Why does government want the pubs closed and the markets closed and the sales closed and the centres closed? Because they don't want people talking about what is happening. There's no other deep reason. There's no other deep reason. Yeah. And you'll see around and about an entranced society. Those that believe everything on the radio. They believe everything on the TV. There's a large part of the population who are not awake because they're in the trance of the sleep state. They're entranced. You know, it's always interesting in language, the word entrance. Like you go into a building or into a house or into a new place. There's an entrance. Because your mental state is supposed to change when you go from one space or place into another. And the environment then controls your thoughts, your ideas, your philosophies, all of those things. Your interactions. And that's simply why it's called entrance, because it entrances people. Remain awake, remain aware. Remember that if you don't stop and take stock from time to time, it's hard to evaluate either where you are or how far you have come. How far you have come. Somebody broke into my Amazon account and ordered a whole bunch of stuff, like camping equipment and what else? Makeup and some technology stuff. I mean, and the crazy thing is that they ordered it and sent it to my own address. I mean, why would that even? I mean, if you're going to steal something, you steal it. Don't steal it and send it to the. I don't know. Bizarre. Maybe the companies hack themselves and order stuff from themselves, or I don't to make money. I don't know how it works. And anyway, Amazon were really unhelpful at the end of the day because they said because like 5 things were ordered. And I only know about it and managed to stop it because I was sitting in front of my email at the time and it said these emails popped up saying, oh, thank you for ordering this and thank you for ordering this, and I'm like in panic going, oh, I haven't ordered anything. Oh my gosh. So I phoned my bank and cancel my card and try to call Amazon, but there's no people at Amazon. There's just bots, and you can chat with them online, but you're not even sure that they're real people. Because just because, right? At least they're not real people at the beginning. They're going to get to be more real after a while. Oh my God, the beach is full of people. I've never seen so many people on the beach. Yes, we're winning, right? That's what winning looks like. Winning looks like more people than you can count on the beach right now. There we go. Anyway, my bank helped out. Apart from sending me a card without the PIN number, which was unhelpful, they did decide to refund me money and take up the fraud with Amazon on my behalf. You know, when things work out, you know, sometimes it's a bit of a surprise. But you gotta stay on a positive vibe, right? Positivity and optimism builds bridges and keeps the doors open. On a downside, recent developments in the US Congress, shady developments regarding individual freedoms, liberties, and people will say this is an extension of individual liberty, but what it is an infringement of the rights of corporations. Because, let me explain, the fact that right now, because of the new legislation, you can't just employ who you want to employ if you are a private organization, is an example of government becoming God. It's the erasure of Christian morality in Western culture, and I don't say that lightly. It's not that, oh look, these people can't be discriminated against. Look, discrimination is necessary for the survival of culture in any society. Have people forgotten that discrimination is necessary? Discrimination is the choice of one thing over another. It's unavoidable. We do it on a daily basis. It's part of what makes us human. You have the right to not like things. I wonder if there not being an obvious dislike choice on Facebook. I wonder if that plays into that game. You have a right to dislike things. You have a right to dislike people. You have a right to dislike opinions. You have a right to dislike music and songs and weather and buildings. You have a right to dislike things. This, oh, you must accept everything, is bollocks. Accepting everything is the erasure of your personality. If you accept everything, it's insanity. So think about this. This was written by Chuck Baldwin. Follow his thinking. Over 60 million unborn babies of every race have been mercilessly slaughtered in the wombs of their mothers. This is the abortion. This catastrophe, apocalypse, Holocaust. Why do those lives not matter? And before Christians get all sanctimonious about condemning everyone else for the abortion holocaust that has taken place over the past 47 years in the United States, let's not forget that over 40% of church-going Christians have sought and continue to seek an abortion. Somehow, being Christian in the modern world doesn't translate to a biblical respect for human life. For the last 3 years, Christians have been willing to completely overlook Donald Trump's utter disrespect for all things sacred. This waving a Bible in the air doesn't make you Christian. They enthusiastically attach their biblical convictions to the Trump bandwagon, knowing the man was the polar opposite of everything which they purported to believe. What started out as ABC, anything but Clinton, turned out or turned into the complete alphabet of cultish attachment to Trump, the man who could do no wrong playing his 4D chess, the man who pretends to be dismantling the deep state. Just another Trojan horse, my friends. Just another Trojan horse, so it appears. Yeah. And when pushed, Trump supporters tell you, well, Trump should be supported for the Supreme Court justices that he appoints. His appointments will restore traditional family. They will protect religious liberty. Well, they don't, and recent steps just highlight this. Trump's Supreme Court appointment, Neil Gorsuch, voted with the liberal wing of the court to, for all intents and purposes, dismantle religious liberty in America. The Bostock decision will force churches, Christian schools and religious organizations to hire homosexuals, lesbians and transgenders. It will require schools to force boys and girls to use the same locker room and take showers together. It will require unisex bathrooms, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. So much in there, so much happening, so much under the surface, We got to see through it all, guys and girls. We got to see past it all. We've got to realize, we've got to form the right perceptions of reality. Yeah. Tricks. There's 1,000,000,001 tricks that will be played on us. But slowly some people do wake up over time. It's a minority, but they're there. As reported by NN, which was then banned, by Facebook because I don't know, because they had an opinion, maybe. Opinions get you banned now. Crazy. So Facebook just doesn't want to help me out here and give me the text. In fact, it doesn't want to give me anything. It doesn't want to give me a page. It doesn't want to open anything up at all. Such is life. Back to life, back to reality. So have you seen the the whites apologizing for crimes that they themselves did not commit? How long before we're all arrested for the crimes of our ancestors, huh? Point is, don't sacrifice yourself for the mistakes of your ancestors. It wasn't you. As long as you're not perpetuating the same rubbish, it's okay to be you. How crazy is that, right? Don't kneel to the mob. It only encourages them. According to the Daily Wire, a group of 50 Black Lives Matter terrorists dressed in black marched towards City Hall in downtown Olympia, spewing trash from garbage cans and taking road construction signs. I disagree with the word terrorists. They're just violently aggressive protesters at the moment, while causing damage to property. A second group of 30 followed behind and tried to put things back into order. That just describes politics, doesn't it? Despite kneeling to the violent left-wing BLM mobs, Mayor Selby's home was then attacked. After getting their boots licked and their violence endorsed by the mayor, the left-wing Black Lives Matter mob decided to take advantage of Mayor Selby herself. Just a week later, they targeted her house and vandalized it, spray painting BLM on the front door. As they vandalized her property, they chanted, "Abolish the police," because that's a grand idea, right? and when they were done at Selby's house, they headed back downtown, where they continued to spray paint storefronts, street signs, lampposts, and sidewalks. And they don't really want to abolish the police. They want to take over the police. They want to weaken the police. Now, Mayor Selby is waking up out of her stupor and changing her tone. She didn't quite care when ordinary men and women were having their businesses destroyed. She backed down when Black Lives Matter thugs stormed the streets, busted windows, and burned the American flag. But now that her house has been attacked, she finally cares. In fact, she's now calling it domestic terrorism. "I'm really trying to process this," Selby said. "It's unfair." it's, it's not meant to be fair, right? Life's not fair a lot of the time. Get over it, right? Everybody's looking for equality of outcome. It's such a mistake. It's such a mistake. Ho hum. Ho hum. I don't know what else to say. Don't know what else to say. Catch the latest Made in Murray podcasts if you can. There's some cool stuff in there. They're very positive people doing positive things. It's all motivational and inspirational. It's all good stuff. I posted some of my bloopers as well recently, where I screw up and mess up and trip over words and go arse over tit. Luckily, luckily I can re-edit it. But it's good to show the human side. It's good to show the human side. Wow. And it's good to show that we are human, that we are real, that we are people. It's good. We need that element. We need that element. That's why I put out videos of my kids and my family just having a good time. Just having a good time. Just being us. Just living life the way that it should be done in as free and open a society as we can. So I can see here that the sun is still out, and I'm thinking it might be time to take the kids down to the beach, get the wetsuits on, get them wet in the water, and I can't imagine anything that would be more fun in the sun than doing that. I think that's what I'll do. I think that's it. Really? I could harp on about selected and not elected, about all the legislation rammed through the British Parliament without debate. Where is it all going? Where is it all going? It's not happening by chance. It's not happening by accident. Remember, everything is part of an agenda. Everything. Try to see how the pieces fit together. Try to join the dots. Right? Try to unfold the map of the plan and understand where everything is going. But don't at the same time forget to live your own life for you and those around you. My name's G. I represent the Academy wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I wish you a great day. Take care of yourself and all those around you. And as always, don't forget to tell the ones you love that you love them. All the best.